We begin this episode of Police Beat by discussing a deadly issue that affects us all, impaired driving. You may know someone that has been in a crash with a drunk driver, or you yourself may have chosen to drive while impaired in the past. The effects of impaired driving range from arrest and hefty legal fees all the way to killing someone in a crash or being killed by a drunk driver or impaired driver.
Some people think that driving while impaired is not a big deal and that it only affects them, but they're wrong, dead wrong. In 2007, a drunk driver took GPD Lieutenant Corey Dahlem from us. The worst part of his death is that it could have easily been prevented by making a choice not to drive impaired. In our first segment today, we follow GPD's DUI enforcement specialist, Officer John Koprowski, as he hunts down impaired drivers before they can hurt or kill anyone.
Officer John Koprowski, Gainesville Police Department. I'm the nighttime traffic safety team DUI officer. Well, the DUI enforcement position is part of the traffic safety team, and what we're trying to do is be on the roads, and stop any safety violations before something bad happens. Just like the daytime, we look for speeding, people running red lights, stop signs, things that are going to put the community at risk. He was driving over 100. We're slowing down towards the intersection now. But one of the differences between the nighttime and daytime shifts are, nighttime are more predominant for DUI drivers. This position was created to detect and enforce DUI laws specifically due to the amount of traffic accidents, either serious bodily injury and fatalities that were occurring. And this is a way that we're addressing this issue, is to stop them before they're actually happening. Well, one of the common misconceptions people have is when they go out and they have a few drinks, alcohol tends to make you feel good, and that's why people drink it, which leads to poor judgment. When you're feeling good, you think that there's nothing wrong with you and you can drive. That's a misconception on everyone's part, because the more you drink, the more impaired you get. Your normal faculties decrease, your ability to make judgments, to judge distance. Driving is a complex situation. I mean, you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to stop for red lights, stop lights, stop signs. You have to use the gas. You have to defensive drive, as well as operate your vehicle in a safe manner. Alcohol diminishes that ability. Even though you might think that you're okay to drive, we see indicators that you're not, and that's what we are out here judging people on. We have to make sure that they're okay to drive, and if they're not, we need to get them off the road.
Can you be around 9656?
10-451. Well, the first DUI we went to, we were called to the scene by Officer Tutora, who stopped a gentleman on a scooter for weaving all over the roadway. As a DUI officer, I'm available to any officer that needs my assistance. She made contact with him. He showed obvious signs of impairment, and he became aggressive, so she wound up placing him in handcuffs because he became a flight risk. Upon arrival, she requested that I come to the scene to evaluate him. So as we get there, he's very uncooperative with the investigation, did not want to perform it. People need to understand that just because you don't want to cooperate with the investigation does not mean that we are not going to enforce the law. There are other telltale signs of somebody other than the field sobriety exercises to show that they're impaired. One is their demeanor. This gentleman had an aggressive demeanor. He has a history of DUI driving. He's been arrested before, so he kind of knows what's going to happen. Just because he doesn't participate in any of the investigation does not mean that we cannot make a determination based on the level of their impairment. Subsequently, I made the determination that he was impaired, and he wound up being arrested and he's going to go to jail. Refused the breath test. Now his license is automatically suspended for 1 year for refusing to take the breath test. And those are the consequences that he faced, and even though he did not want to participate at all. When a person is, stopped with possible suspicion of DUI driving, they're going to be requested to perform field sobriety exercises. These are designed to let the officer have some interaction with the with the subject to see if they are actually impaired or if there's another reason of why the occurrence is, why their driving pattern was so bad, or whether it was a vehicle malfunction or something like that, to rule that out to see if either that was the issue or if they're an impaired driver. Depending on their performance of field sobriety exercises, if they perform poorly, they're going to be arrested for driving under the influence and requested to take a breath test. After they see the judge, it's up to the judge whether to release them or issue a bond at that time. But depending on whether they refuse to take a breath test or if they blow, they're going to lose their license for a period of time. These are consequences that everybody takes while they're drinking and driving. Next gentleman that we observed was coming westbound on University Ave. He was traveling a 30-mile-an-hour speed zone, and radar confirmed that he was traveling 46 in the 30 miles an hour speed zone. How's it going? You got your license, registration, insurance card?
I got my permit.
What's that?
I got my permit.
You got your permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got a licensed driver? I'm going to step right up over here for him. Where are you heading to?
My friend lost his ride from this party, and we're gonna go pick him up.
Okay. Okay, have you had anything to drink this evening?
No, sir.
You been smoking weed? You haven't?
Cigarette.
Definitely. What were you just doing?
We were just sitting at my friend's house watching a movie.
Do you know your shirt's on inside out?
Yeah. I can't, 'cause my friend,
You know it's on backwards?
They called us and said his friend left him and he has no ride. And my friend came up and he was like, "Can I go pick him up?" And I said, "I guess so." And I'm saying we're just watching a movie.
Very slow. Thanks, 38 routine with you. Demeanor, his eyes are completely dilated and they're not responding to light at all. He just has that high look about him. So we're gonna run through some field sobriety exercises. When we stop someone, we have no idea where they're gonna stop. Some people stop immediately, some people pull in parking lots, some people will just stop in the middle of the road, some people pull on the sidewalk. Are you any pills, prescriptions, medications of any kind? Nothing like that? You say you're not on any drugs or anything like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you mind performing a few field sobriety exercises for me?
Yes, sir.
And that'll be okay with you? Okay, what I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna stand right back here with this officer. I'm gonna pull my car up here, light up an area that we can perform those, okay? So if you'll stand over here, and we have to go into an investigation. We try to find a parking lot, a gas station, a sidewalk, somewhere out of the roadway, out of harm's way to perform the investigation. Plus, we don't want any extra things, for them to worry about. We want them to perform, to the best of their ability so we can get a proper evaluation of them. All right, first thing I'm gonna have you do, I'm gonna have you stand, see where that light is? I'm gonna have you stand right there. Put your feet in the light, I want you to put them all together. See how mine are heel to heel, so side by side? Relax your arms at your sides, okay? All right, see that red light? What I want you to do is I want you to stare at this red light, okay? I want you to follow this red light with your eyes and your eyes only, okay? I don't want you to move your head at all during this exercise. You understand that? Okay, so go ahead and stare at the red light for me. This one. This gentleman not only had the signs of alcohol, but he had other signs of drugs in his system. And obviously you could see it in a person's eyes, but when he performed on field sobriety exercises, it was plainly obvious, that his normal faculties were impaired. He cannot mentally and physically do something. He couldn't even hold his balance while he was just standing there. So he performed poorly, wound up, being placed under arrest, and went to jail for the night. And he's going to have to answer that to the judge in the state attorney's office for the actions that he took. One thing that society has come to, this is a poly-drug use society nowadays. It's not just the going to the bar. We're not just looking for the alcoholics that are falling out of the car when we pull them over. There's prescription drugs, there's illicit drugs, there's narcotics, there's multiple drugs that people get impaired on. As this happens, we keep up with our training, which allows us to detect those signs of impairment. Think about what you're taking and what you're putting in your body before you get behind the wheel of a vehicle.
Remember, impaired driving includes more than drunk driving. Driving while under the influence of drugs, including some legal prescriptions, is also unsafe and against the law. Make the decision today to never drive while impaired.